this morning we were watching YouTube and they was talking about Geronimo and the Apaches out here in the west, and on my, what's it called, the front page we have,
on your front page of your
intro
page, is that what it is?
Yeah, my first video on my intro page where Bill is jumping in a pool of water that is called Warm Spring. That was the Warm Spring Apache Indians reservation at one time. And there's actually 3 warm springs through there, but that was a pool, and Bill will tell you more about that area.
Well, this fellow was visiting Fort Sill, Oklahoma. It's an old Army fort, but it's where some of the Apache prisoners of war ended up in the early 1900s. They shipped them off from Arizona to Florida and then Alabama, and a lot of them died. The climate was completely different from what they was used to. Real humid and muggy, and I think malaria killed a lot of them. It was torturous for them. And the best they could ever, I think they petitioned to try to get back to the Southwest, but the people in the far, like in Arizona, what I would understand, didn't want them back for different reasons. You know, they just had a lot of trouble with them. But they ended up in, a lot of them ended up in Oklahoma, and then some of them eventually came back out into this area where we live. The Mescalero Apaches allowed some of them to come back onto their reservation, but where we've camped and rode horses a lot west of here, about almost a half a day drive from here, is the old Warm Springs Reservation. And there was a rations, some people call it a fort, and there was ruins there when we first went there and camped several times in that general area. But there was a ration station where they handed out rations to the Warm Springs Apaches, and I guess any others that ventured in there. But they're not as well known as the Chiricahua to a lot of people. To us they are, because we ventured into that area a lot. And their chief at one time was called Victoria, well known, quite a guerrilla fighter, real good at planning attacks and ambushes. And his sister was a warrior too. Her name was Lozen. She was kind of like a mystic, I guess you'd call, but it was said that she would stand in one place and kind of twirl around with her arms, and she could sense the enemies, what direction they were coming from. And I believe that that's true myself, you know, that's just my opinion. She was quite an important part in the tribe when they were, especially when they were on the run, dodging the Mexican army way back and then the American army. But anyway, the area where we went to and where they frequented, that was their homeland. It's called, the heart of it was called the Monticello Box. And Susie's got a lot of pictures of it. I don't think we had any film of it back then. It's been a long time ago. But it's called a Warm Springs area, and there's where we camped, there's 3 springs, or warm springs, bubbling up out of the ground. And then up the canyon, no, there's 2 right there where we camped, and then 2 on up this side canyon, there's a pool of water. And it's been that way since ages back. There's always been a pool there, what I understand. And that's where what little the Indians talked about it, they would go and sit in that pool. It's about knee deep, or sometimes it's deeper, but basically when we were there, it's about knee deep. And she does have some video of us going to that pool and in the water with the dogs.
Yeah, that's on that intro.
It's on that intro, but that's where that's at, and it's over north of a little town called Winston, New Mexico. It's in the heart of, kind of on the edge of the Apache Kid wilderness.
And that Winston, that's a pretty area.
Yeah, it is. A lot of stories about the Army's doings over there, and such as that. But anyway, one of the reason I thought of it, this fellow was talking about Geronimo, and what I understand, when they had the ration station there, he would, when he was on the run a lot, in the late 1800s, he would venture into there and blend in and get rations, get supplies, blankets and whatever they, the Army was offering him, and they didn't know for sure who he was. There wasn't a lot of pictures of him back then. But that was one of the only times that I know of that he was actually captured or surprised. And what happened, there was a fella over in Arizona, I think around Tombstone, that I believe his name was Plum, but I might be wrong on that. It's been a long time since I read or heard about it. But anyway, he had what they called Apache Police. And at that time, I believe he was an Indian agent at San Carlos or in that area. And they were trying to subdue what they called the renegades or the hostiles. Well, he got word that Geronimo would come there from time to time and blend in and get supplies. So him and his Apache Police, and people have judged him for helping the Army, but they were trying to make a living in some ways, and there were different bands of the Apaches, and some of them didn't like the other bands. Some of them didn't get along, but they were, excuse me, we're still getting over a cold a little bit. And they were trying to make a living, but anyway, he kind of formed, or he had a large group of the Apache Police. Well, they came into that ration station, and it was all adobe buildings from what we've seen. There's not much left of it now, but when we first went over there was still some of the walls standing.
Yeah, but we found a gob of horseshoe nails.
Yeah, horseshoe nails and old broken horseshoes.
All over the place.
It was probably the blacksmith shop what we found.
Yeah.
And anyway, he brought his Apache Police over there, and they hid in some of the buildings, and they were able to surprise Geronimo and his band. And they captured him, this Indian agent and his Apache Police, and they marched him all the way back over to Arizona, which that's a long ways from there to San Carlos, the main reservation, because they were trying to get them all on that San Carlos reservation, but anyway, that Monticello box, it's a real pretty area. There's a stream, can't even remember the name of it.
And it's kind of warm too.
Yeah, it's a warm stream, but it goes through that box, and it's like a big rock outcrop, but it's a gorge. There's a level plain, or rolling hills all around west of it, and then there's the stream. I'm probably wrong. I won't say the name of the creek because I can't remember. But anyway, it's goes through the gorge, and it's just a big rock outcropping that's probably 100 foot high, and that stream is cut right through the rock. And there's actually a road that goes from the Monticello, what they call the Monticello box, back east to the town of Monticello. It's just a little small town. It was a Spanish settlement, and then Anglos moved in there. And Jeepers like to travel through that, or have like to travel through it a lot. We never run across them when we camped over there, but we seen evidence of them where they traveled through that gorge. And there's a lot of quicksand, but I guess they made it okay.
I don't know how they do, because when we walk through there, you can feel
we walk through there a
sinking.
lot, because there's a nice stream going through there, going back east towards the Rio Grande. I think they've got it closed off now. I think the Forest Service
yeah, I think they might.
was petitioned. There's landowners back in there on each side of the stream, and I believe they were complaining about people leaving trash.
Yeah, campers.
And camping on their property, such as that. And the last I heard, I believe the Forest Service had just closed it off completely.
But we're not sure.
We haven't been over in a while. It's an interesting place, and we like that area. The Indian Creek that we've camped on a lot and rode horses into, and the mountains called the San Mateo Mountains that we've rode a lot is remote, and you just don't see anybody. It's a nice place to find solitude.
Yeah, that Monticello box, it seems like a kind of a different place, because I picked up I caught a sucky fish about 3 inches long. It had them sucky lips, and then on the wall we seen it was, you know, a fairly large lizard, and it looked real. I don't know. It just had a ancient look to it. Kind of. How would you describe that lizard? Because it really looked different.
Looked like a baby dinosaur.
Yeah, that's what it looked like, a dinosaur.
I
Oh
think
my gosh.
it's just a unique area.
It is.
When you're driving on the, actually, it's not a highway, it's a dirt road, but it's labeled as I guess a forest road or highway or something. But from a distance you can see it 5 miles before you get to it, because it stands out so much. What it puts you in mind of is some fantasy movie like Lord of the Rings or something like that, because it's really striking from a distance. And then as you drive up to it, to that what they call the actual box, the Monticello box, it's just that rock face, and then it's like something. The stream of over 1,000 years just cut its way through that rock surface.
It's just real neat.
Instead of going around it, it just cut its way through. And probably in ancient times, that stream was probably really large, and flash flood, stuff like that. But,
well, there was a fish in there, small fish.
Yeah.
And there was some kind of snake in there, in the water.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're a type of water moskin or what.
I don't remember. It's been a long time ago.
Sometimes there'd be pools close to the wall.
Yeah.
And I'd go over there and look at it, and it was so soft sand, it'd take my leg down like quicksand. But when it did, some snakes would come out of that pool, take off, and I would scramble out of that. I was like, golly, what was that?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a water moskin or what. But it's really a cool area. And then there's some plants, water plants, and so I grabbed some water plants and brought them home, and I put them in my aquarium. I had different aquariums, and the fish that was in the aquarium the next day, most of them was dead because of them plants.
Well, probably about some bacteria from that.
I think it was sulfur.
You know, they weren't
You know.
used to, this tropical fish.
Yeah.
Not,
If that was volcano type water to warm it up, it might have had sulfur in it.
it could have had sulfur and arsenic in it. The water out here, well water sometimes tends to have arsenic in it out here. That's why you have to filter it real good. You can filter it out, but I don't know that it's that way everywhere, but
Yeah.
a lot of it is that way out here. And that area over there, well, the whole southwestern part has got a lot of warm and hot springs. Of course, I think everybody's heard of Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. They call it TRC, but it's over west of here, and there's a lot of hot springs, bathhouses and stuff there.
Yeah.
On west, and scattered all around the southwest part of the state. There's a lot of hot springs and warm springs too. There's real hot ones, and then there's just not quite bathwater hot. Real enjoyable, and there are a lot of minerals. That's why I think the Indians like to bathe in them, because it would help their sore bones and sore muscles. And they really hated to lose that when they moved them. They moved them off of that reservation and closed it, from what I understand.
Well, it was a fun place to camp at.
Oh yeah.
We had always have it to ourselves.
Yeah, there is a ranch house not too far from there, and there used to be a road going through that ranch into the National Forest area, but I believe it's closed off too.
I think the rancher did it.
Yeah.
Close that
Well,
road
they
off.
got the Forest Service to.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. People leave their trash behind sometimes. Usually beer cans and cigarette butts.
Well, you gotta have cigarettes with your beer.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It doesn't, not everybody. I'm not saying everybody, but it does happen a lot. We've rode up on a lot of campsites on horseback, and it's funny. People carry them 6-packs of beer way back in there to have them a drink.
Yeah, and
I probably would have done when I was younger.
And what we notice is, you find a campsite with a bunch of beer cans, you'll find money.
On the ground.
Yeah, I guess they're lighting up their cigarette and pulling out their change.
Yeah, and we found a lot of double bit axes
Oh yeah, we have.
left behind. People take an axe with them to chop some firewood.
Yeah.
And we found several brand new double bit axes.
Yeah, they leave them
Or
behind.
shovels. People just, forget them for whatever reason. They're tired and in a hurry to go home.
But you never know what you find if you see them beer cans
Yeah,
around that camp. You don't know what you'll find.
yeah. We used to pick them up a lot.
Oh yeah, and we would still do it.
Yeah, and we just don't get around as much as we used to. But anyway, that's the story of the Monticello box, and I keep trying to, because some people claim it was a fort, and there was I think a platoon of soldiers stationed there most of the time, and sometimes the buffalo soldiers, what they used to call buffalo soldiers. But it was actually a ration station, and they would bring them in. I think they brought them in from that Monticello town through that way and up that
creek.
and up through that gorge to the ration station.
And if somebody Googled that, they might be able to see that fort. You think that you could still see it?
I don't think so. Because I've looked at it, and if you found an old, Google Earth picture from back in the early 2000s or in the late 1990s, because when we were going over there, it was in the early 90s, and there was still quite a bit of walls left of that ration station, and wasn't any roofs that I remember, but it was several walls.
Well, they should be able to see the box though.
Yeah.
On Google.
Yeah, you can see you can find the box. You can type in Monticello box, probably, and find it that way.
Yeah. Anyway, if I find some pictures, I'll put some up.
Yeah, it's an interesting place, and but it was kind of the heart of the Warm Springs reservation, the Apache Warm Springs, and they were related to Mescalero, I think, and they were also related somewhat to Chiricahua, I believe. Might be wrong on that part. And the Membres. There was a group of Apaches called the Membres over south and west of there.
And that's beautiful country over
The
there.
Membres Valley. They had way back, their main chief was called Mangus Coloradus. Great big guy. He was real big, and he was at the time of Cochise. I think Cochise was actually younger than him.
And there's lots of deer over there.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's there's a creek called the Membres River that flows through that valley. We've camped in there a lot.
Yeah,
it's
it's real pretty.
Place.
And they got more water than we do.
That's over towards Silver City.
More grass over there.
Yeah, they get a little bit more moisture. Well, a lot more moisture than we get here. And, but that Monticello box is north and east of there a good ways. Membres Valley is right on the edge of what they call the Black Range.
I would love to live over there and explore that Black Range.
Yeah, it's pretty rough hiking and riding, but it's interesting. It's we might have. There was a fella got lost. There's people get lost in it from time to time, but there was a fella got turned around several years ago. I remember when it happened. He was hiking in there with his dog, and he was, I believe, he was from El Paso.
El Paso, Texas.
And it was in the wintertime, and I don't think he was dressed for it. It was
I think he was in shorts.
We had a warm spell, and he went in there, and he got turned around some way or another. But somebody found him, but he was in the hospital for a while, and his dog ran off. When the two cowboys rode up on him, he was curled up by an old cabin outside of it, trying to get warm. And
well, they found him with the dog on top of him.
yeah, the dog was laying on top of him. I guess trying to keep him warm. They were real bonded.
And he had a gun, so he shot the lock off the
Cabin.
because the owner said they were getting broke into a lot.
Yeah.
Because they leave food in there,
Yeah, there was a wood heater in there and matches, but he apparently I think the story was that he didn't find any matches, so he went back outside in the sun.
Yeah, they were in a coffee can or something like that, and
he couldn't
so
find
he
them
couldn't
to get a fire going.
Yeah.
There was a pond right there, or a tank. People call them tanks too. Pond, spring-fed pond, I think. And anyway, they got a ambulance. Somehow or another, they got to. This was, I don't know if there were cell phones then or not.
I don't remember.
But
He
they got an ambulance and got him to. Eventually, they got him to, I believe, to El Paso to the hospital. And they
he went a long way.
He went back looking for his dog, and other people searched for it.
There was a $1,000 reward for that dog.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. And so people put out traps, nobody seen him, and I feel like he probably got shot, before everybody knew.
Well, either that or mountain lion.
Or mountain lion.
It's real rough country. It's they called it the Black Range. It was the Spanish called it that, and before they called it Diablo Range because they were scared of it. It was so dark and spooky. Big cliffs, and but real dark once you get into it. We've camped on the edges of it. It's a wilderness area, a lot of it, and the only way in is on foot or on horseback. There's an old battle site in there, north of there, that Victorio and his people was involved in that, but there were several soldiers killed in that battle. It was one of the biggest battles ever in this state between the Indians and the Apache, but there was 30-some soldiers killed in it. They got ambushed by the band that was back in there.
We even throw some more wood in there.
Oh, I thought you was talking about him.
No,
He likes to
Wait,
curl up by the wood heater.
he does. No
Anyway,
shouting.
that's a story. There's a lot of information now on the internet about it. When we first started going in there, we didn't find enough. I found it on a Forest Service map. Found out about it. I just run across it because I used to sit and look at the maps, figure out places to go.
And
now
there's a lot of wild areas in New Mexico.
Yeah, and that for sure. The Black Range and the Apache Wilderness is, if you like solitude.
Yeah. And some of it's uphill. It's hard.
Yeah, you gotta. Your horse has got to be in good shape.
Yeah.
We were riding all the time then, and the horses could go for long distance, and then we could too. But it's a pretty area, and there's water, a good bit of water in there if you know where to find it.
Yeah.
Different places, and there's a site called the Apache gravesite. It's supposedly the last what they would call a renegade. There's stories about that on the internet too. There's a lot of stories.
And that was a pretty area, a lot of rocks.
Yeah.
Until you get up to the pine.
Yeah. And, there's probably a lot of pictures of it. There's a trail that goes across the rim of it called the something Enchanted Trail, or Enchantment Trail, but we rode the rim up high, I think one time. It goes up about 9,000 or 10,000 feet. It goes south to north. I think it's pretty popular for backpacking now. There is water along it in places. Nice place to visit. But anyway, that's the story of that Monticello box and the surrounding area.
Some places are so isolated. One time we was camping back in this area, and when we come out, we camped about a week.
Yeah.
And great big mountain range, and the only tracks coming in and us going out was our tracks on the car, our truck.
Yeah.
It was like nobody ever went there.
The road dead ended at the edge of, well, close to the edge of the wilderness area. And you don't see Blue's trying to tell me it's time to feed the horses.
It's time to feed. We're just talking away here.
He's eyeballing me.
Yeah, Blue knows. He's a good dog.
It's time to go feed the horses.
Mm-hmm. And Sonny don't know. Sonny just sleepy head.
Sonny's waking up.
Yeah.
You
Is
ready?
it time? Well, we'll talk to y'all later, so thanks a lot for coming by.
Yeah.
Bye.